Hello students, this is the fourth chapter from civics. Your fourth chapter is understanding law. The topic that we are going to cover in this chapter is, as you can see, that is given in your worksheet itself. Do laws apply to all? The next topic is how do new law come about? Nextly we are having the topic that is unpopular and controversial laws. These are the glossary words what you have to write down in FNB. First one is sedition, conduct or words that incite rebellion. Nextly, union list, list of subjects on which only parliament can make law. State list, list of subjects on which the state legislature can make law. Then concurrent list, list of subjects on which both the union and the state legislature can make laws. Next is residuary power, the power of the parliament to make law on subject not mentioned in the union, state or concurrent list. The last one is repeal or revoke, take back. Let's start our fourth chapter, that is understanding laws. So you may be familiar with some laws such as those that specify the age of marriage, the age at which a person can vote, and perhaps even the laws dealing with buying and selling of property. We now know that the parliament is in charge of making laws. Do these laws apply to everyone? How do new laws come into being? Could there be laws that are unpopular or controversial? What should we as citizen do under such circumstances? So few laws you are familiar with, like generally if we talk, then the marriage age of a girl and boy, that girl should be above 18 and the boy should be nearly 22, and voting age again it is above 18, they can vote. And from the last chapter also we have understood that the parliament is the supreme law making body, so parliament makes the law. Now, do these laws is applying to everyone? Everyone is abide by this law, like the common citizens or the person who are in power, the government officials mainly, are they all abide by this law? This is the question that arises. Then how do new laws come into being? Generally, if we talk about the constitution that is made 70 years ago, so the same rule is being followed till now, or it is being changed. If it is being changed, then what as a common citizen is doing to change the citizen, whether there is any role of common citizen, or it is being changed by the parliament members. There is any unpopular or controversial laws? Is there any kind of way that we can change the laws? So for all these questions we are going to get the answer from this chapter. The next part of this we are going to learn in the next chapter, that is judiciary, the process. Here only we are going to understand about the laws. Who is making, that we are already knowing that parliament is making the law making body, and how it is being made, whether the old laws are can be changed or not, what are the citizens' role in this, what the citizen do in such kind of circumstances if they are not happy with the laws which are being already made. So that we are going to learn from this chapter. The next topic and very first topic of this chapter is, do laws apply to all? So here one situation is given in your textbook. A government official helps his son go into hiding because his son has been given a 10-year jail sentence by a district court for a crime that he has committed. So do you think that the government official actions were right? Should his son be exempt from the law just because his father is economically and politically powerful? So situation already we have read that the government official's son was being given punishment by the district court for 10-year jail, but he was being hidden by his father as he has got the punishment. So this act, what the government official has done, whether it is correct or wrong, so this act is completely wrong. What he has done, he has violated the law. How you can say he has violated the law? Because the government official should know what are the laws, and mainly he should be more responsible than the common person. Common persons are responsible, they also should know about the rules and regulations, but as he was working as a government officer, he is also abide by law. So the act what he has done, it is completely wrong. It means he has violated the law. Could we say just because he was economically stable, he was rich and politically powerful, he can do this? Can his son be got freed from this kind of punishment? So answer would be no. There is no mercy for any of the government officials' son. The law is equal for everyone, whether the son is of government officer, whether the son is of the common people. Everyone is abide by law. So the above is a clear case of violation of law, as I said. As you read in Unit 1, member of Constituent Assembly were agreed there should be no arbitrary exercise of power in independent India. They therefore instituted several provisions in the Constitution that would establish the rule of law. The most important of this was that all persons in the independent India are equal before the law. So here in Unit 1 we have already learned that the member of Constituent Assembly has to follow all the rules and regulations. They are abide by law. If they are getting power, or if they are in power, they cannot work according to their will. Here there should be no arbitrary exercise. Arbitrary means as per their personal interest or according to will, they cannot change the laws. They are already abide by the laws, and this is being instituted in the provision in the Constitution. Every person in the country, in the independent India, are abide by the laws. They have to follow the rules and regulation. Here nobody is above the law. Everyone has to follow. So they are no one, whether they are government official, here I can say from the common people to prime minister, everyone is under the law. Nobody is above the law. Though the prime minister is in position, common person is living in common way, but they all are above the law. So here you can say nobody is above the law. Secondly, everyone is equal before law. If the crime is committed by the common people or by the prime minister, both will get the punishment according to their law, and nobody could be discriminated on the basis of the caste, creed, gender or religion, because they are equal in front of law. Equality, that we have already learned in the Unit 1, that everyone is equal, nobody could be discriminated, that we have covered already. In next paragraph it also has been written, the law cannot discriminate between person on the basis of their religion, caste or gender. What the rule of law means is that all law apply equally to all citizens of the country and no one can be above the law. That already I have explained. Neither a government official nor a wealthy person nor even the president of the country is above the law. Any crime or violation of law has a specific punishment as well as process through which the guilt of a person has to be established. But was it always like this? As I said, from poor to prime minister, everyone is below the law, nobody is above the law. And the crime or violation of law which is being done or committed by any of the person is having a specific punishment, and this punishment they will get by a process, and that process will decide whether the person is whether the person is guilty or not. If he is found guilty, then he will get the punishment, or if he is not, then he is being out of the charge. So this is the process that is called as in judiciary. This process is been mainly in the court. They are being represented for the process that we are going to learn in the next chapter as judiciary. But here only we have to understand about the laws, how it is made, and who are making it. All this stuff we are going to learn here. So the next question, what was arising, that was, but was this condition always like this? This was the question arising. So next paragraph you can see over here. In ancient India, there were innumerable and often overlapping local laws. Different communities enjoyed different degrees of autonomy in administrating these laws among their own. In some cases, the punishment that two persons received for the same crime varied depending on their caste backgrounds, with lower caste being more harshly penalized. This slowly began to change as this system of law began to further evolve during the colonial period. So in the ancient time, there were innumerable and often overlapping local laws. You have learned in history also, and in 7th standard also you have understood this. Whenever there were ruling by the other people in our country, like Mughals came, Delhi Sultan came, Britishers came, according to their will and according to their personal interest, they have implemented many laws, so which was not benefiting anyone. The rights were violated, and here what it is being written, those who were coming in autonomy here means those who were coming in power, they were administrating their laws according to their will, that is for the personal interest only. Now here laws were also as I said, they were made as per the personal interest, but the punishment also differs. Now two person has done the same crime, but punishment could vary over here. The two person will get the different punishment for the same crime. Now it also depends on from where the person is coming, from which religion. If he is coming from the lower caste, then he is harshly penalized, he is getting severe punishments. This could be done with the lower caste people. But if the person is wealthy and if he is from the higher caste, then the punishment would be different. So can you say this is the right way to give away the punishment, or the law is being made that is completely different with the punishment? Nothing is being written on the paper, as like we were having the written constitution, the law making body, that law book. That kind of book was not written in past. They were working according to their will. But this condition was slowly changed. The system of law was changed. Now when it was changed with the evolution during the colonial period, as in the colonial period there also many laws was being made, like Rowlatt Act, doctrine of lapse. Many has protested, that we have learnt in history also. So when the people understood that they are got violated, their rights are got violated, so laws were being changed during the colonial period, and that was the credit goes to the many freedom leaders also, even to the common people also. But were getting the support of common people. They were the people who were raising their voice against the wrong things. It is often believed that it was the British colonialists who introduced the rule of law in India. Historians have disputed this claim on several grounds, two of which include: first, the colonial law was arbitrary, and second, that the Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of legal sphere in British India. One example of arbitrariness that continued to exist as part of British law is the Sedition Act of 1870. The idea of sedition was very broadly understood with this act. Any person protesting or criticizing the British government could be arrested without due trial. So generally it is believed that during the British period the rule of law was being introduced. So again, historians were having disputes on this kind of claims on the basis of two things. They questions two things over here. Mainly they call that the colonial rule was arbitrary, or the colonial law was arbitrary. Arbitrary already I have given the meaning that they are working according to their will. The laws are made for their personal interest. It is nothing to do with the people's right or people's benefit, nothing to do with that. It is only done for the colonial benefit and colonial profits. Secondly, Indian nationalists, they have played a prominent role. Mainly here Indian nationalists, they were law professions, those who have knowing laws, completed their degrees in LLB, those who have studied. So these kind of Indian nationalists like Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, these Indian nationalists play the prominent role in the development of legal sphere in British India, because they already know about the laws which are being made by the Britishers, that was completely wrong, that are violating the rights of the people. They were knowing it, so they can just argue with the colonial group that the thing what you have implemented, the law what you have implemented, it's completely wrong. So one such example it is given over here of arbitrariness, that is the British law is the Sedition Act of 1870. So this was being also said that it is completely wrong what they are asking, like under the British, the Sedition Act defies that anyone who criticized the British government could get arrested and without any trial. So directly there is no trial for the person. Like I said, no, they are sent to a process like judiciary, whether the person is guilty or not. There it is being decided. But this kind of trial is not given to that particular person. So if any of the person who is protesting or criticizing the British government, they are arrested without trial. Generally, Sedition Act is defined as that anybody who works against the national interest, like the terrorist activity, this kind of activity, if it has been done, then the person without trial could be arrested. They are not going to get the rights. But here what was the other part that colonial group has made, that if the British government is being protested or criticized, then the person without trial could be arrested. And because of the same Sedition Act, many nationalist people, the Indian nationalist, has been arrested under this act, that is Sedition Act of 1870. So Indian nationalists began protesting and criticizing this arbitrary use of authority by the British. They also began fighting for great equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that they were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. By the end of 19th century, the Indian legal professions also began emerging and demanded respect in colonial courts. They began to use law to defend the legal rights of Indians. Indian judges also began to play a greater role in making decisions. Therefore, there were several ways in which India played a major role in evolution of the rule of law during the colonial period. So here, the Indian nationalists started protesting and started criticizing what law the British has been made for the arbitrary use, for their personal use or personal interest. So they started fighting for the equality. They asked to change the idea, what was being what kind of law that was being set by the Britishers, and even the Indian people were forced to follow without the interest that we have already learned in history, like doctrine of lapse or Rowlatt Act. Then public or the people were not asked whether they are liking this law. Even they were not having any rights to say anything against the illegal law or this kind of law that was forcibly implemented on them. Even they asked to give away the justice, the idea of justice provided to everyone, like the punishment differ from person to person and as per their religious background. So by the 19th century, by the end of the 19th century, many legal profession, as I said, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi, they were knowing about the laws. So they started emerging and they started demanding the respect in the colonial court. Even they demanded and asked them to define the rights of the legal rights of the Indians in the law when they are writing away the law. So the rights of the people were also being demanded. Indian judges were also getting a role in decision making. Mainly it was being not given, generally the judges were from the British group only. So here there were Indian judges also in the decision making system. Then there were other several ways where the Indian were playing a major role to change. Evolution means a complete change. The law which were being made in the British time for their personal interest, that was being changed with the help of the legal professions in the colonial period. That was being done in the colonial period. With the adoption of the constitution, this document served as the foundation on which our representative began making laws for the country. Every year our representative pass several new laws as well as amend existing ones. In your class 6th book you have read about the Hindu Succession Amendment of Act 2005. According to this law, son, daughter and their mothers can get an equal share of family property. Similarly, new laws have been enacted to control pollution and provide employment. How do people come to think and propose that a new law is necessary? You will read more about this in the next section. So what happened with the adoption of constitution after the independence? We have adopted the constitution. So this document has served the foundation of representative. Now what is the role of representative of the country? They started making law for the country. Every year what this representative were doing, they were passing several new laws. And what they were doing, they were amending existing one. Amendment means to remove the old law and to make a new law. Just to remove it and to make a new law. So that is called as amendment. The rule which is being or the law which is being made in the past, that would be not working for the common people or for the religious people. They were not benefiting. It would be benefiting one group of people and it would be harming the other people. So they understood this and later on they started amending new laws, replacing the old laws with the new one. So as per the demand and need of the people. It doesn't mean that according to the common people's will, whatever they could change, uh, any of the laws could be changed. It is not like that. There are again certain processes to change the law. So our Indian constitution is considered as flexible one, because the old law could be changed, it could be replaced with the new one. So this process is called as amendment. So the existing one could be changed with a new one. Already you have learnt in class 6th about the Hindu succession amendment. In past, what was happening, the property right were only given to the son in the family, because according to the Hindu, it is considered that the son is going to run the future. He is going to stay with the family, so the property should be given to the boy itself or son itself, and the girl child is going to get married to the other family, so the property rights were not given to her. So as per the Hindu succession amendment, this was a new law, so it was being replaced. So this law was being replaced with the existing one. Existing one, what does it says? That the property would be given to the son. Now that was being replaced with the new law, that is Hindu Succession Act in 2005. According to this law, what will happen? The property would be equally shared with the family members. It means the property would given to the son also, to the daughter also, and even to the wife. In the past, there were no rights for the wives also and for the daughters also. So the property would be shared between the family member. Rather than that, there were many amendments, like for the pollution control and to provide the employment, mainly to provide the employment for the lower caste people, SC and ST. They were getting a special slot to get the employment. If out of 10 the other religion would get the 7 seats, then these the 3 were registered for the SC and ST. So this kind of amendment were being done in the present. So our constitution can be said that it is flexible. So the next thing we will learn in the next section, but up to here you have to understand. Move to the previous page. There was a thing written on the left hand side. Let's see what it is written. Another example of British, in the left hand side, of arbitrariness was the Rowlatt Act that we have learned, which allowed the British government to imprison people without due trial. Indian nationalists, including Mahatma Gandhi, were vehement in their opposition to the Rowlatt Bills. Despite the large number of protests, the Rowlatt Act came into effect on 10 March 1919. In Punjab, protest against this act continued quite actively. On April 10, 2 leaders of the movement, Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Saifuddin Kitchwell, were arrested. To protest this arrest, a public meeting was held in 13 April at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. General Dyer entered the park with his troops. They closed the only one exit without giving any kind of warning. General Dyer ordered the troops to fire. Several hundreds of people died in this gunfire and many more were wounded, including women and children. So this painting shows troops firing on the people during the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. This was the massacre's picture, what is being shown. General Dyer has ordered to fire on these people as they came for the silent protest, but they were being killed by the General Dyer and his troops. So they were protesting against the Rowlatt Act, but this was the silent act. Only they gathered over here. So the next topic, how do new laws come about, that we are going to learn in the next video. Up to this topic you have to complete your worksheet. Stay tuned. Thank you.